we're going to move on and do some theory tonight. I'm going to go through some theory. A couple of people asked a couple of questions, and I'm just going to kind of answer them and go through some basic theory, which I think's not only important to know, but it gives us some objectives for pretty much all the exercises we do. So as long as we've got a kind of grounding in the theory, that's fine. You know, you don't need to do too much in the theory, but knowing a little bit more about the theory and remembering it, you can keep bringing it back to the exercises you do, and they have a little bit more focus, a little bit more relevancy. Okay, so before we go any further, I'd like to mention the update on the lockdown scenario. So obviously the PM said something last night about softening the lockdown, and a couple of people have asked about how that affects us. Well, at the moment it doesn't affect us at all. Personally, I would not suggest diving even with people from your family or household. And there was a couple of divers who were rescued 2 weeks ago. They went out diving and they claimed it as their leisure activity. They got rescued and they got fined because it was undue. They weren't free divers; they were scuba divers, and they were fined. It was I can't remember the reason why they didn't call in, but it was fine, except that they were fined for taking too many risks. So today the government did go through and pin down that leisure activities that they are completely happy with people are doing are tennis, golf and fishing, as long as you stay 2 meters apart. So these are, we're moving in the right direction. And I spoke to Raysbury today, and they're not open for diving as well from the same point of view. But they do envisage possibly opening up in a couple of weeks' time. So it does look like we're going in the right direction. Well, we're going in the right direction. Not only the health parts, but equally well the softening of the lockdown. So stay posted, and we will let you know when it's kind of safe to start getting back in the water. There was mention of water sports being available or allowed, but that was more kayaking on rivers where you're going to stay distanced. But I haven't found anything else pinned down in today's updates. Okay, so without further ado, we'll go on and do a little bit of the fundamental theory of freediving. So if you don't know, if you have not been to a foundation course, or if you went to a foundation course and it was a long time ago, you may have forgotten that my original idea of freediving came from south of France, from Loic-le-Femme. So Loic was diving on single breath, obviously on a sled, and he was going quite deep, and he realized that sometimes he couldn't equalize at the bottom, and this was related to how he was feeling before the dive, directly related. So it wasn't a matter of him not enjoying the dive because he couldn't make it. It couldn't make it because he wasn't enjoying the dive. And he really was a real pushing the sport forward from this point of view, and took this idea of enjoyment back to his club and started teaching people this idea of enjoyment. And it's something you can learn to do. So if you start going to the pool sessions, oh no, I don't want to go to the pool sessions, it builds up. We're creatures of habit, and these are habits that we can build up. So as soon as it becomes a chore, as soon as it becomes not enjoyable, then the life expectancy of that hobby is very limited. On the flip side, we can actually change it and make it enjoyable, make it something we look forward to, and then not only is the longevity of that hobby, that pastime, going to be more, but the subconscious responds to it in a really positive way. And once we've learnt that kind of key of enjoyment, we can then take it, especially like swimming pools. Nobody joins a club to dive in a swimming pool. That's not why we freedive. But we can learn that skill, and if we're looking forward to playing torpedo in a swimming pool, then the opportunity to go to a lake, it's going to be, yeah, of course I'm going to the lake. Of course, like, yeah, I want to go. I want to be there. I want to dive, and the body responds real well to this, really well. And this is how we kind of teach the body that's what we want it to do, and that's how we kind of get more comfortable in the water, and it is the ultimate objective is enjoyment. Now, a few people have asked me, well, what about safety? But I always say safety comes second, because hang on, because I cannot enjoy myself if I don't feel safe. So I always look at the situation I'm in and go, am I safe in this situation? If I am, if we've got a good safety diver, if we all know what we're doing and we know, where the safety kind of steps would be, then I can relax. I can't relax unless I know these things are in place. So I'm looking for that relaxation. I'm looking for that enjoyment, but that relies on the safety being in place. All right. So safety kind of has to be in there, so it comes first, but it nicely feeds back into this enjoyment, right? And the comfort of ourselves. So anyway, I met Loic, and he started teaching me this idea, this philosophy of diving for enjoyment, and putting things into place to make it enjoyable. And a few years later, in fact, when I first met him, I met him in 1999 or something. And so a couple of years later, he said to me, he said, you know what, Marcus, you can't do anything in the sport without a club. You can't do it. If you want to do records, you need people behind you to help you. If you want to run competitions, you need people behind you. If you want to go exploring, you need people to help organise it. There's a wealth of people behind the scenes to make anything happen. Okay? And the best way to do that is to start a club, because then you're pulling in people with other skills, and not everybody's just like, I want to compete. I want to compete. Well, I want to compete. No, I want to compete. There's people, if you start a club, there's people who don't want to compete, so they'll help out on the competitions. And the people who help out on the competitions may not want to go, I don't know, exploring, but they will help out the people who want to go exploring. So there's give and take, and that's the joy of a club. Anyway, he said this to me, maybe 2001, 2002. He said, Marcus, you can't do anything without a club. You've got to start a club. And I was like, wow, man, it's easy for you. So you've had a club for 6 years, and you've got 40 members, and it's a big thing, and you live on the sea, and next to the beautiful deep blue sea. And he said, no, the deep sea, that's nothing. It's nothing. We just happen to be here. It's the people around me that make things happen. Doesn't matter where. And I was like, wow. Anyway, 20 years later, we got 100 members. We're doing live streams to people during lockdown. We do trips all around the world, and we're in London. not on next to the big blue. And so, weirdly enough, he was right. And yeah, it doesn't matter where you are. We're in London, without the sea. Well, Colchester and Brighton. Brighton's got the sea, I suppose. But we're here and we're doing it and we're all loving it. And he's right. The community that we've built makes everything possible. It's incredible. Anyway, I digress. I waffle, as Curry keeps telling me. You're waffling. Okay. So, Loic told us about this, or taught me about the importance of looking for enjoyment during the dives, and the whole essence of putting things into place to allow you to relax and enjoy yourself. Super, super important. And I started teaching this right back then. Started teaching in 2001. We already had pool sessions running from 1999, but it wasn't a club. It was a group of us kind of diving together. I booked a pool sessions and whatever, but like to say 2001, 2002, I went, right, I'm going to teach this idea. Rather than freediving, I'm going to teach this idea. And we've moved on from there till now. 2008 was when I actually completed the whole system, the NTX system, which is the only complete freediving training system with the 10 aspects that I catalogued on the first 10 of these lockdown sessions. The 10 aspects, if you train them all, then you've got complete training. It doesn't matter whether you're just an enthusiastic snorkeler, a spear fisherman, or an extreme location freediver. There's these 10 things that you can train. And you can train them all dry. The only one that's a little bit difficult is adaptation to depth. But you can do it dry, you can help it dry, you can do the exercises for it. But definitely the other 9, you can train them 100% dry. And I proved this in a series of dives I did out in Egypt, 2010, I want to say, where I did all my training in Raisbury, which is, for those of you who aren't in the area, it's about 10 metres deep, over near Heathrow, so just a lake. Did all my training in there, then went out to Egypt and did a series of really quite deep dives, and was equalising a mask, quite happily to quite some deep depths. And just prove that you can train it all dry. Yeah. Anyway, so. Moving on from this idea of the system that we had, the first thing that I really, really like people to understand is that we try and control our entire body. Okay, so we try and what the heck's going on there? That shouldn't have happened. There we go. That's the button I should have pressed. Okay, so the autonomic nervous system, it controls all the automatic, the non-conscious systems in body, and we want to start controlling them. So how do we do that? We use our breath. Right? So the joy for me of freediving is that the breath control work that we do controls the body. That's how we control the body. That's how we lower the heart rate. That's how we can lower the blood pressure. That's how we can control all the autonomic nervous system. We can control it with our breathing. But the reason we're doing it is because we want to control our breathing. The freediving is basically pausing in our breath to dive underwater. It's not a breath hold, it's a pause in our breath. And so we control the breath that then controls the autonomic nervous system, which allows us then to hold our breath or pause in our breath in a controlled way. So it's quite weird. All these years I've been doing this. If you just said, hold your breath now, Yeah, I could hold my breath, slightly longer than a normal person, than an untrained person, but surprisingly not, bang, straight away massive. Give me 5, 10, 20 seconds, bang, it steps up. My breath hold steps up a massive amount. And that's because it takes 5, 10, 20 seconds for me to actually click in and start controlling the autonomic nervous system, which allows me to lower the metabolic rate and then hold my breath a bit longer. And it's always intrigued me that there's a difference between just holding my breath, which is, not much more than an average person off the street, just 20 seconds of preparation, thought process, and the breath hold steps up. Okay. It does step up, it does raise up a little bit more if you have maybe up to 2 minutes preparation, but much more than that doesn't really, it's diminishing gains as you go. So having 10 minutes or half an hour to breathe up doesn't really affect your breath hold that much. So 2 minutes, nice solid amount of time to breathe up, which is why we run all our exercises, or we try to, well, the ones that we're playing with that sort of preparation time, 2 minutes. Like speed statics, for instance, they have 2 minute gap, because that's how long it takes for you to the optimum time to get most of your preparation done. Not all of your preparation, but most of it. Okay, it's the same with when we take a deep breath in. We were trying to take a deep breath in. 90% of the deep breath using your diaphragm. It's not worth squeezing for the extra 10%. Same with the preparation. 2 minutes to prepare. It's not worth using extra time just for an extra 10% of preparation. So how does our breath control with the autonomic nervous system? How does it do it? Well, the yogics say that the breath is a silken thread with which we control the entire body, and it's true. So the breath exercises we've been doing on these live streams we're breathing through the nose, and we're trying to keep it super controlled and fine. So when you're breathing, it's not okay, it's, and that last one, it was how it should be, but you couldn't hear it because it was so soft and fine, like a silken thread. It's not jittery, okay? And when it turns at the top of the breath, it just turns like there's no pause at the top or the bottom. And when it changes over from the passive exhale to the active exhale, it's smooth join between the four parts of the breath. Okay? It's a silken thread. And as we're lowering, we breathe in for 5 and out for 10. As we're slowing this down, using the it's actually in the pranayamic numbers are 612, but we use 510. They're very similar. They are as we extend and double the exhalation time, it triggers the parasympathetic nervous system and starts slowing things down and increasing the brain efficiency. So that's why we get nice and focused, which is why you can use it for exams. But equally well, the brain function is a lot more efficient, so we're using less O2 again, that helps us dive. So this is to say, the joy for me is the breathing helps in the body, and then the body then allows you to free dive and hold your breath and control your breath. Okay, so part of this that we've mentioned before, if you're on the foundation course, we talk about this reduction spiral. So the reduction spiral really starts with relaxation. So you really want to take a few moments to get yourself relaxed. And what do we mean by relaxed? It's easy to say, yeah, I'm relaxed. Okay, but as you sit there, stop what you're doing. Don't move. Just sit there. Drop your shoulders. Let your elbows be heavy. No matter where you are, you can always drop your shoulders a little bit more. Soften the spine. And all of a sudden you'll realise actually the chair's not quite holding you, and you've been using your muscles to keep yourself in that upright position. So you can adjust your seating position, drop your shoulders again. just take a few moments to be aware of yourself and what you're doing right at that moment, and do less. And that's what we mean by relaxation. So if you're busy doing something, there's tensions building up and your brain's going, to relax in that scenario, just stop, drop the shoulders, allow yourself to be aware of what you're doing. And that's the essence of where relaxation starts. And you can put this into a freediving scenario time and time again. You get a newbie, they're like, what's happening? Of course, if they're a newbie, it's their first time, which is fine. Everybody's got to go through it. It's not wrong, okay? But it's something that once you've been in there water for the first time, what's going on? Then you can move on, because you know what's going on. So you can take a little bit more control. And it keeps stepping up. Same as in the pool sessions. That's why newbies are newbies, because they don't know what's going on. Because they're new. Doesn't mean that they're bad freedivers. Just means they don't know what's going on because they're new. Okay? So you've got to get through that stage to take control of yourself, be aware of what you're doing. Yeah, I know what the exercise is, so I can close my eyes, drop my shoulders and relax. I know what the next dive's happening. I can close my eyes, drop my shoulders and relax. Even up to the elf, I know what the caving part of this trip is going to be. I can close my eyes, drop my shoulders and relax. Okay? Taking control of yourself. Then we can reduce our breathing rate, which, as I said, silken thread controls the heart rate, reduces the heart rate. As the heart rate goes down, all the autonomic systems, all the autonomic systems in the body are controlled by the heart rate. Okay? And as the heart rate drops, the autonomic systems drop, the metabolic rate drops, means we're using less oxygen. Equally well, the brain, as I've explained as well, reduces oxygen consumption, which means you can reduce your breathing rate further. So we can go around. Okay, so reduced breathing rate reduces the heart rate. The body tries to keep a 4:1 ratio, so as we're reducing the breathing, the heart rate naturally slows down. Okay. So this is a reduction spiral. This is something that we really try and hook into every time we do an exercise. Not even a breath hold, just every time we do an exercise. And this fits into all the other sports as well. Okay, so other things that we do mention on the foundation course at this point are the mammalian dive reflex. Then the mammalian dive reflex are where there's receptors on the face that sense when we're in the water, and if we're relaxed, we'll lower the heart rate. But there are many dive reflexes, and we can kick them in without being in water. Okay, so they're called dive reflexes, and they are kicked in when we go diving in a kind of hunter-gatherer type of dive. Okay, diving concept. We're going diving, telling the body that we're going to do this, and it starts lowering the heart rate. But there's vasoconstriction, so the blood vessels, the fingers, fingertips, and the toes start to constrict and shunt blood to the core. Okay. There's about 5 or 6 other dive reflexes that come in. 4 main ones, but we can kick them in before we go diving, and all we have to do is repeat the same pattern before we dive. So this is why we use the candle blows. The candle blows, we're teaching the body, I'm doing this weird breathing pattern. Okay, what's going to happen next is I'm going to go diving. I'm going to hold my breath. Very quickly, when you do candle blows, your heart rate will start lowering. You see vasoconstriction, the blood shunt starts happening. You can already kick it in before you get in the water. So this is why it's super important not to just do black candle blows all the time. Only do them when you're going to hold your breath. Okay. In fact, weirdly enough, I can't do candle blows because I'm teaching people all the time. I do candle blows a lot without holding my breath. So I've got special candle blows, which are very similar. And I can't tell you whether it's me deciding to do my special candle blows kicks in the dive reflex, or whether it's actually the candle blows that kicks in the dive reflex. But I tell you now that my heart rate drops when I do my special candle blows, and they're very similar. They're insignificantly different, except I know they're different, and I choose to do them because I'm doing a dive. The interesting thing is that anybody who dives with me regularly, the seniors, etc., know the difference between my normal candle blows and my candle blows. So if I do my candle blows, anybody around me, oh, Marcus is going to dive. Has he got a buddy? Oh no, he's okay. He's doing his thing, which is another reason why we do our candle blows. I'm telling everybody around me, I'm doing a dive. I'm not just showing somebody how to do the candle blows. I'm doing a dive, so people can respond to that. But it is interesting that I do normal candle blows, nothing happens. I do my candle blows, very similar, with a little tiny tweak. My dive reflexes kick in. Oh, okay. So hopefully that's been interesting. So we've got a little bit of history about where No Tanks philosophy came from Luik. A little bit of an idea about the nervous system, the autonomic nervous system, and how we tap into it and control it. And then a little bit about the dive reflexes that we can control. We can tell the body what we want them to do, and it does it. Okay, so there are 3 things that we're covering tonight, and you can build them into your exercises, your dry exercises. That's it. You can do it. So hopefully that's been interesting. So I will see you tomorrow night. We're going to go through a little bit more theory, and if you want to put a note or message me about any of the exercises that we've been through before, or exercises we haven't been through before, but anything that you want me to cover, please put them in the comments, either now or when it goes up on YouTube, or message me. I would really, really love to hear from you, to get some idea of what you guys want me to cover. Please let me know.